Your Eminence, Your Excellencies, dear fathers, sisters, and my dear friends. Today is a day of thanksgiving for the Syro-Malabar Eparchy of Great Britain, as it is witnessing for the first time in its history of 10 years, a priestly ordination, especially from among its children, in the person of Deacon Tony Kocheri. We all join together in thanking the good Lord for this great gift to His people, as well as we join together in congratulating our deacon in persevering to accept this vocation. And also we remember in a special way his parents, Simon and Susamma, and his brother Tom, as we all know that the major reason for a vocation lies in the faith life of a family. I can see how proud is our Bishop Joseph Srambikal Pidavu today, because he's getting his first ordained priest today. And also, I also feel proud because their family originates from the Archdiocese of Changanacherry. Kocheri family has contributed many priests to the church. I would like to remember in a special way Archbishop Emeritus George Kocheri, the former nuncio to Bangladesh. We thank his parents and family also because their faith life has contributed much to his vocation. In the Syro-Malabar Church, which has only around 5 million faithful, we usually have around 250 new priests every year, especially these years. And many people ask us the question, why? There are many vocations in your church. Is it only in India? No, it is not only in India. Wherever there is the Syro-Malabar Church, we have vocations. We are proud of that. In the Eparchy of Chicago, we have many youngsters desiring to become priests. And I think in this eparchy also it has begun. So we thank Lord for the great gift of this vocation to the church. But then, why are there vocations from a particular area? That's a good question. I would say it is because of the faith of the families and the communities which give birth to vocations. Even in Great Britain, I believe that God is calling many youngsters, but unfortunately, they don't have a proper atmosphere to discern their vocation. Everywhere God is calling youngsters to His vineyard. Some can listen to that voice, and we have to prepare an atmosphere for our youngsters to listen to the voice of God. And that happens when there is a prayerful atmosphere and a deeper faith life in the families and in the communities. So we can thank God for such a strong faith of the community and also of families. Thank God for many families which consider faith as the most important value in their lives, thanks to which we have still priestly and religious vocations. When our beloved Tony is receiving the sacrament of priesthood, I was wondering what this young man is going to do in a country where 43% of its population identify themselves as belonging to no religion. I read recently that in Britain, 43% people have registered as non-religious. And when we understand that 57% of those people who claim to be non-religious were raised as Christians, it is again becoming a challenge for each and every one of us. Many people do not even understand what priesthood is. It is said that there are two types of atheism. One is classical atheism, and the second one is practical atheism. Classical atheism is sheer denial of God. I don't believe in God. That is it. But I don't believe much, those classical atheists. If they don't believe in God, they will be believing in something else. You know that when there was the absence of Moses with the people of Israel, they compelled Aaron to make a golden calf for them to worship. People are always seeking gods. But sometimes people have abandoned the real God and gone after smaller gods. So that is the plight of classical atheism. Even those who claim that they do not believe in God do believe in other gods in the form of some natural forces, richness, calmness of mind, pleasure, and everything. Because it is actually our beliefs which help us to go forward. We remember, and the desire to worship is innate in every human being, which comes out in various ways. And it is our mission to make our people aware of the smaller golden calves which they worship and lead them to the real worship of our Lord Jesus Christ. I would say that the more serious type of atheism is the practical atheism, which is actually leading a life as if there is no God. That happens to each and every one of us. Sometimes we limit our spiritual life to the church and only the church. Only in the church we are all religious, but outside the church, God does not exist. When I am to take a decision in my life, I decide as if God does not exist. So that is called a practical atheism. So that can be a danger that could happen in the lives of even the good faithful, because they profess themselves as religious, but they may be victims of practical atheism. So that is more complicated, as many people are limiting spirituality just to the church. It is a challenge for the priest to convince them that the real spirituality concerns one's day-to-day life. In such a world, the voice of a priest sounds like a voice in the wilderness. But the world, I would say that even if that's a voice in wilderness, the world is in dire need of it. Because if that voice goes feeble, then there will be no one to tell the world what the real purpose of life is. Once a young man recently asked me, what's the use of believing in Jesus Christ? People are always seeking for the gains now. What's the use of believing in Jesus Christ? What will I get? I told him that, okay, I can tell you, by believing in Jesus Christ, what are you going to get? You will get a clear vision of the purpose of your life. My dear friends, whenever the world is going astray from the real purpose, actually it is the gospel values, it is the church that directs the world to the real purpose of life. That is why our Holy Father, Pope Leo, becomes not that popular in the eyes of certain people, because he has to tell the world that you are going astray from the real purpose of life. His voice may not be that popular, and gospel is also not very popular. We know that. Everywhere the world is hostile to the gospel, because it is actually inviting each and every one of us to the real purpose of life. So when in the families, when we are reluctant to give proper catechism, proper training in faith life to our children, what are we lacking? We are depriving them of the real sense of life. That's it. Once you help them to grow, develop the real spirituality, wherever they go, whatever they become, they will not lose the real purpose of life. So, as a priest, I think our beloved Tony is called to show the real path of life, the real purpose of life to our people, especially in a culture which claim to be non-religious. In John 10, in the Gospel of John 10, we get a real picture of what priesthood is. Jesus says, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. The reason my Father loves me is that I lay down my life only to take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. We encounter three major roles of a priest in these lines. One is priest. Second one is shepherd. Third one is victim. So that is the real difference between Old Testament priesthood and the New Testament priesthood. In the Old Testament priesthood, one was only a priest. He need not become a shepherd, or he need not become a victim. Victim is something else. But when coming to the New Testament, the priest, if he limits himself to the offering of sacrifices, he is not a proper New Testament priest. He is going back, or he is limiting himself to the Old Testament priesthood. So, in the New Testament, when we say that he is a priest, he is not simply offering cultic sacrifices. He is actually representing Jesus Christ, and he is offering the sacrifice which Jesus Christ offered years back on Calvary. He is only representing that sacrifice to our people. That means he should have an intimate connection with Jesus Christ. A deeper prayer life, a deeper union with Christ, then only his priesthood becomes effective. Second one, he has to become a shepherd. He has to lead a people. He has to give pastoral leadership to a people. And that is also not that easy. It is easy to cater to the needs of those who come to the church only. But Jesus has asked us to go out of the church. Go after the one sheep that is lost, the lost one sheep. You have to go after that lost one sheep, leaving all the 99 inside. Sometimes our priests are tempted to cater to the spiritual needs only of those who are inside the church. There is a great temptation to forget those who are outside the flock. But Jesus is asking us to go after the lost sheep. And you might remember Pope Francis saying, now 99 are out and only one is inside. And what we are doing, we are catering to the needs of that one inside. We are giving enough and more food to the one inside, and we are forgetting the 99. So that's the situation everywhere in the world. 99 are outside, only one is inside. So if you are deciding, if you are tempted to cater to that just one person, or the one sheep, the greater relevance of your priesthood is lost. And I would say that the third one is the most difficult in the life of a priest, to be a victim. Old Testament priest did not have to become a victim, but a New Testament priest has to become a victim. That is why he is taking certain vows. He has to be celibate. He has to pledge obedience. And he has to lead a life of poverty, or a non-possessive relationship he has to lead. So that's all part of his being a victim. And I would say that is the most difficult part. The easiest is becoming the priest. More difficult is becoming a pastor. And the most difficult is becoming a victim. That means a priest has to offer sacrifices. He He has to pray for his people. He has to do penance for the sins of his people. He has to go through his own sufferings, personal sufferings. Sometimes he might be isolated. He might be going through a lot of loneliness in life. In all those moments, he has to be alone with the Lord and really live the experience of becoming a victim. So, my dear friends, we can offer our greetings to our beloved Tony, that he become a priest, a shepherd, and a victim, reminding him that the most difficult thing is becoming a victim for the people of God. And I think his ordination is a beacon of hope for the whole eparchy of Syro-Malabar eparchy of Great Britain. Because here also you are growing up as a full-fledged church. 10 years is not a long period in the history of church, but in the history of a diocese. But on the 10th year, God has blessed you with this new priest. Let's thank God. But then that is an invitation also to grow as a community. You know that today's liturgy, we are celebrating the East Syrian liturgy, but in different languages. English, Malayalam, Syriac. I think we miss Italian also. We could have included that too because many guests are from Italy. The same tradition, but it can be celebrated in different languages. So that shows the universality of each liturgical tradition, which the universal church asks us to preserve. Why? Because every ecclesial tradition is a deposit of faith. Through every ecclesial tradition, some important aspects of faith is revealed. Therefore, we should not lose them. When we celebrate this liturgy together in one voice, this beautiful liturgy, we are actually living the universality of the Catholic Church, the Catholic communion,